Hello and welcome into the RotoWire Esports Show. I'm Andrew Laird, joined as always by Ethan Sexton. Today to talk about Friday's four-game LPL LCK slate. Quick review of Thursday. Ethan, I saw a bunch of the lineups. I sent you where I was sitting in like a 12-way tie for second for like $3 at one point. The lineup that won this GPP, I don't even know which one it was, but was an FPX long stack with Chovy captain, with Arthur in the jungle, and the good old Fredit Brion one-off team.
Yep.
The looking at it, I'm just like, I get it. It's weird to see. Like, I even think the occasional like short stack with a captain and then the four-man long stack is like a little wild to me. To have two of them instead of three, and then the Fredit Brion, like, I wasn't going there, and I finished like 20 points back.
Yeah, it's a weird build, right? But we said we might see some Fredit Brion, one-offs come into play because they were so cheap, and
Yep.
and with KT being pretty poor lately, we thought people might take a stab, with a couple shots there just for the salary savings, and paid off in that sense. Obviously, with them winning the series, especially, it worked out really well. But yeah, I mean, we didn't see anybody go full on Fredit Brion stack or anything like that.
No.
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, the one-offs, man, they can work, especially those team slot ones, because teams pretty much always score, fairly similar scores at the end of slates if they win. So if you can get a low-priced team that ends up winning a series, it's a way to open up some salary, and if they win, you're getting a big boost out of not a lot of investment, I guess.
Yeah, I ended up with an IG HLE stack with a June captain.
Yep.
I had an HLE team slot, which scored 42, and of course Fredit Brion with 50. That still wouldn't have gotten me to first, but like,
Yeah.
but I feel like the slate kind of went, other than the Fredit Brion win, obviously.
Yep.
But like, we didn't expect that one to be totally one-sided. But like, FPX took care of business, IG took care of business, HLE against Afrika, like we weren't, a 2-1 was fully within the realm of reasonable possibilities, and then Fredit Brion just comes in and ruins it for everybody. Although I will say KT did a heck of a job of ruining it for everybody with some subs after game one that basically killed anybody. I mean, they ended up losing anyway, but like, even
Right.
if KT came back to win, you probably weren't cashing with that, with short or long on
Yeah, for
KT.
sure. For sure. So, yeah, it didn't even matter that they ended up losing because, exactly, even if they won, you're not on the right players anyway, most likely. And, yeah, I think, we kind of got it right. Like, IG highest upside on most slates. I think they scored the most points. I don't think they had the most kills, but I think the games not played bonus pushed them over Hanwha Life. I'm pretty sure anyway, right? I think so.
I believe so, yeah.
Same with FPX. FPX really didn't score. They did all right. I think they ended with 33 kills, and obviously they got the games not played bonus as well. But it looks to me like, from everything I saw, IG were the highest scoring team, which we kind of alluded to yesterday. If they swept, they probably would be. Yeah, so I think the analysis was pretty solid yesterday, but of course it didn't help either of us make a lot of money, did it?
Not a lot. I at least had positive ROI, and that's in these slates. Like, if not that I feel like I survived, because I don't know, I don't get that feeling with League of Legends. It could just be that the whole like GPP versus cash mentality, that I play cash games almost in every other sport,
Right.
and cash games feel like survival. And GPP, it's like, if you don't make it, or if you min cash, you're like, all right, like, whatever, it is what it is. That's kind of how you have to play GPPs. But let's go into this Friday slate. It's our last 4-game slate. We're going to have 2 5-game slates coming up after this, which is kind of fun. But let's not jump in that quite yet. We have Damwon, gigantic favorites against Sandbox. Gen.G is the next biggest favorite, but they're not nearly as big as Damwon. They're against Red Force, and then we've got the 2 LPL matches, which or series that have lower favorites but higher kill totals. But they both kind of seem like not coin flips, but they're close. Like EDG's favored against Suning, and then Thunder Talk favored against LGD.
Sure.
I was shocked to see that EDG were like, they're not barely favored, but they're not big favorites. And obviously we know that Suning can blow anyone else up. But I don't know, like, don't we think EDG's a lot better?
Yeah, they have been this year, but
Yeah.
you mentioned the odds there that it's close, but on DraftKings, EDG are the most expensive, I think, in every role, is it, or pretty much every role?
It's close,
They're either
yeah.
first or second in every role, I guess, is what they are. So obviously, DraftKings feels a little bit stronger about them than the odds reflect. Yeah, I mean, EDG have been great, right? They're undefeated. They've been awesome all season, looking really good. But at the same time, this isn't really the safest matchup because although Suning, have been disappointing a little bit, especially against some of the bigger teams, they're still a really good team, obviously. So that makes EDG, not really the safest bet on this slate. That series, I mean, both to your point, I mean, both those LPL series are kind of like neither one is safe. I mean, we got Thunder Talk as a favorite, for Christ's sake. It's crazy. I mean, and I think they deserve to be, right? Because they've been playing well, and LGD are another bottom-feeding team who have been playing awful all season. So it's kind of crazy, but, like, is anybody that, like, confident in TT at any point in time? I mean, I guess if you were going to be overly confident, this might be the series to be confident with them, but wouldn't shock me if they lost tomorrow. And same for that Suning taking down EDG. I mean, wouldn't surprise me if Suning upsets that one either. So the LPL, I think, is especially tricky tomorrow. Really, I feel like the only safe team is Damwon, but you got to pay up for that safety,
Yeah.
and you got to wonder, are they going to put up enough points to pay off those heavy salaries? It makes for a little bit of a tricky slate because even NS and Gen G, I think Gen G are going to win, but they've been performing not as great, and NS, I guess they lost yesterday, but they were doing okay.
Yeah.
So we'd expect Gen G to win, and Gen G offer a little bit of salary savings compared to EDG and Damwon, but they don't even feel the safest, either. So it's kind of a tricky slate in that sense.
So when I saw the matchups and then I saw the odds, I'm like, so the first one was I was surprised that EDG weren't bigger favorites. But again, like we know Suning can just come out and beat anybody. We saw against Top right away to begin the season.
Yep.
So then I was like, there's no way Thunder Talk can be a favorite against anybody. Like, come on. And then it's like, I know LGD like have been awful, but like I didn't really appreciate how awful they've been. Like I went and I started just building stacks with like LGD because I'm like, this is an easy upset. They're cheap, and then this is where I'm going. And then I like looked further into it, and like I want to say that what we've seen from them this season could just be schedule related. Like they lost 2-1 to V5 and then got swept by EDG, Top, BLG, and Suning. Like we wouldn't expect them to beat any of those teams. So
Right.
like getting smoked by them, I'm like, maybe they're not this bad. They just happen to be going through like a buzzsaw, and now they get Thunder Talk. Like, come on.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, full disclosure, I really like LGD too, right? Like, what, are we insane? Like, I don't know. Maybe somebody should take the podcast away from us. You're in charge of them, so no one can do it. So it's all
That's
good.
right. Yeah.
Dude, it feels crazy, but I think I looked that up as well, who they've lost to, and they've lost all the big dog teams that were like they're not going to beat them anyway. And then you look at Thunder Talk, and it's like they've beaten E-Star and V5, and so they have a shared opponent there. V5 obviously beat LGD, but V5 and E-Star aren't like the best teams in the world either.
Right.
So I think Thunder Talk deserve to be favored. But if I was going to play either side of that matchup, why not take a shot with LGD? These are two bad teams. We've seen tons of upsets already. Still like Kramer. Don't like the rest of the team though, so that makes it a little like less appealing, of course. But it's like you get the salary savings with LGD.
Hugely.
Probably going to get them at lower ownership than a lot of these other teams because they've been so bad. And would it surprise either of us if they beat TT? I don't think it would. So yeah, I mean, why not take a shot with LGD tomorrow? This might be one of the like lone opportunities. You know, they're going to play Road Warriors at some point, so maybe then as well. But man, it's tempting to go for LGD honestly because it's two bad teams, but you get a lot of a decent amount of salary savings with LGD. So yeah, why not? I mean, I guess the why not answer is because they suck. but
I'm not willing to say they suck. Like I'm willing to say they're like a bottom team.
Yep.
But they're technically a bottom team because they played all the top teams. Like
yep.
It's an absolutely brutal start to the schedule. Like and Thunder Talk, like they've looked good, and like we think V5 and E-Star are decent. Like those are good wins.
Right.
But like LGD, I don't know. It just seems like if you showed me the schedule at the beginning of the season and you're like, who would they beat amongst this group? You'd say nobody. But that doesn't mean they can't beat Thunder Talk. Like, come on.
Right. I think the scary thing with LGD is, their roster just looks like such crap on paper as well. Like they really don't have that many good players outside. I think Kramer's good, but not like top of the league good. Like
yeah.
he couldn't slot into a top team, and like he couldn't replace like a Jackie Love and there'd be no noticeable drop off. I think there would be a drop off for sure. But you could say the same thing about Thunder Talk, right?
Right.
Like, who on their team really makes you feel like all warm and fuzzy? Like Sam D was pretty good on Victory 5 last year, but the rest of this team is not very good. So yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're giving a lot of airtime to two really bad teams. I just think, sometimes in matchups like this, it's just like, these are two bad teams. Why not get the salary savings, and just leave it at that? Especially when there's not a huge discernible difference between the quality of opponent, I guess.
I mean, I'll say the one of the lineup, like there are a few like EDG, LGD. That's the kind of this first combination I started making.
Yep.
And it made me realize just how expensive EDG is because there are some combinations that don't work. But like I think enough people will take shots with Suning. Like that matchup's close enough. If Suning wins, they're gonna score well because they seem to always do. When I was looking through the cheat sheet, I'm like, the Thunder Talk averaged the most deaths per loss. Deaths per game. Like the most among all teams on the slate. Like worse than LGD. So I'm like, all right, that's pretty good. How many kills does LGD? Oh gosh, it's so low. It's so low. And that's when I was like, I need to see who they played, and I would expect all those teams to kill them. So
yeah, exactly. To your point, I mean, they've only won one game all season. And yeah, to your point, they're playing, like all these stud teams. So yeah, I mean, I'm on board, man. You don't have to convince me, but I think you did a good job of convincing anyone listening to the video that really LGD aren't like an awful place to go, despite being without a win on the year and only winning one game all season so far.
Right. So now that we've solidified the Thunder Talk sweep, so I think enough people will take shots on LGD. I think enough people will take shots on Suning.
Yep.
Sandbox seems like it almost doesn't even seem like it's worth the leverage because I'm not sure. I guess the safety of Damwon will make them popular. Like, we'll know the lineup basically doesn't change anyway, and we'll know it if you're up at 2:00 in the morning on the East Coast.
Right.
Do you think Red Force is actually the lowest owned? Or like, are there enough stupid people like us to play LGD?
Yeah, I feel like LGD might be. I don't think they'll be like popular, but I think they'll maybe like 10-15% ownership.
Right.
I'm not good at predicting ownership. I should give that as a disclaimer. But I feel like maybe LGD's like 10-15% owned. And then you look at like Red Force and Sandbox, and they're more like single digit owned. Is probably what my guess would be. The thing with those teams, though, is they sort of lack upside. Like, I feel like LGD TT could be like the series we saw the other day between who was it? Let me go back and look. Sorry, I think it was E-Star. Oh, it was E-Star and Thunder Talk, right? Yesterday, I think it was. So I feel like it could be a lot like that series again, where freaking E-Star lost, still put up the most points on the slate, I'm pretty sure, yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
So I feel like that series has upside either way, really, because it's going to be a sloppy back and forth, high kill fest probably. Whereas those LCK series maybe lack a little bit of upside in comparison. So, like, if I was going to take an underdog, why wouldn't it be Suning or LGD? Because I think they have higher upside than Sandbox and Red Force. Albeit those LCK underdogs probably end up the lower owned of the bunch tomorrow.
Yeah, just because who wants to play them?
Yeah.
I have this weird thought that I'm like, because Thunder Talk and LGD have so many deaths, I'm like, it's like weird to look at it. Like, I want to play that game because there are a lot of deaths, not because there are a lot of kills. But obviously, if there are a lot of deaths, there will be a lot of kills.
Exactly.
So you have to go with that one. Do you think it's a double underdog slate?
I think it definitely could be, which is like an oxymoron, I guess. But yeah, certainly wouldn't surprise me if like a Suning LGD wins a GPP or something like that, because they both have upside and they're both in coin flip matchups. Honestly, but it also wouldn't surprise me. They've obviously both got to win for that to happen.
Sure.
But so it wouldn't be surprising.
Maybe not against Thunder Talk.
Fair enough, right? Yeah, they're even if LGD lose, maybe they get enough fantasy points. All this LGD talk and analysis is really just leading us to say LGD are a slam dunk pick, I think, because even if they lose, they're gonna score the most points, right?
Right. There's no way you're winning without them tomorrow.
No, right. Just lock them in right now.
Mm-hmm.
Long stack.
Yeah.
And take head to heads against me with that. Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I could see double underdog winning tomorrow for sure, and I don't see double underdog like both LCK teams winning a GPP, even if they both somehow won. But I guess it's possible. But yeah, Suning LGD seems like a combination that could certainly win a GPP tomorrow.
So when I started building lineups a little earlier, obviously locked LGD in, but I was like, because they're not dirt cheap by any means. So you still have to play around a little bit. But I found myself with like salary left, and so I was like, oh, all right. Like, do I make the move from like scout to showmaker? And like all of a sudden, and I looked at my lineup and I had like a 2-2-2-1, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I doing? But like, because if you're playing the underdogs, you get the salary. Like, we had this conversation the other day that like usually I don't worry about salary, but now it's like I've seen enough of these one-offs that like the weird thing about this slate is that the one-off is actually making you go off of the favorite. Like, I'm not like replacing Kramer with Ghost.
Right.
I'm like replacing Viper, and it's like, do I even really want to do that to like lock in somebody from an LCK game or series that I don't think is going to be that bloody? But I don't know. Like, Damwon seems to line up exactly like JDG and who was the team 2 days ago that we said JDG was just like whoever it was. But just like these big favorites with high kill totals, and then they just don't have to do much because they're so heavily favored that it ends up not scoring enough. And so
yep. And we've seen Damwon put up, pretty poor kill totals in sweeps already this year. Not to mention the fact that, Damwon are huge favorites, and we've never seen them drop series where they've been huge favorites before this year.
Right.
I don't expect them to lose. I'm just kind of being dumb there. But, Damwon, we've seen them only put up, like, I think in one of their sweeps they barely put up 30 kills. Like, that's not what you want, especially from expensive options. But I think they're the safest 2-0 bet on the slate at the same time. So I think what people have to figure out when they're looking at the higher price favorites is, do you want to go for safety or do you want to go for more upside? Because I think there's more upside in the EDG. I think probably EDG are the favorite with the most upside out of the big favorites anyway. but they're not. It's not the safest series. I mean, I think Gen G and Sandbox are a little bit safer to outright win, but lack the upside that EDG does. So I think that's kind of what people need to figure out. Like, you might play EDG, and if they win, they're going to probably score pretty well, I would think. But if they lose, you're obviously screwed. So it's kind of the consideration that needs to be made for the more expensive options tomorrow.
Yeah. Looking at Gen G, they've thrown us some lineup curveballs recently. I feel like that's enough for me just to not even look at them.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just flawless, right? Although Karras, no, you're
right.
Yeah,
Karras came,
Karras played yesterday, yeah. It's true. I mean, I think when I look at Gen G, I always prioritize the bottom lane anyway.
Okay, yeah.
So if I'm using them, I might end up ignoring certain slates. I mean, it's different slate to slate, of course, but I might end up ignoring the jungle and mid laner anyway. Their team slot is usually a good spot to go, especially in big series, because they tend to crush objectives.
Yeah.
So if you do, it looks a little wonky to do a 4-man stack of like their bottom lane and then their top laner and their team slot, but it's a potential way to go because their team slot, we always say, and it's pretty much true, that winning teams are going to score pretty much the same in the team slot no matter what, but that's certainly a way to go. I mean, I can't fault anybody for doing it, and yeah, especially because it's a little scary because they're the late LCK game. I think Flawless probably starts because he's been starting consistently the last few series, but we've only seen Karras once.
Right.
So does Karras come back in tomorrow? Not positive if he will. I mean, especially because they lost. Do they go back to BDD? It's who knows.
Yeah, I feel like the last time we tried that, they lost, so they're going to go back, and then whoever it was didn't, and it's like.
Yeah, it was probably T1 with their annoying.
It probably was
nonsense.
Right, and T1 switched earlier this week too. Teddy went back out.
Yep.
So annoying. But yeah, the LCK team slot is always fun because you literally can't not get a starter in that one. So
yeah, you're safe there.
All right, so when LGD gets smoked tomorrow morning, we'll be back tomorrow to apologize for that. But man, they're calling us, man. They're calling us.
Yeah, I mean, why
not? If you guys agree with us or disagree, please hit the like button below. Feel free to subscribe for all the RotoWire videos for all the sports that we cover. If you are interested in some more League of Legends content, you can check out rotowire.com/esports. We've got a huge League of Legends stat section that we're trying to improve too. So if anybody has any suggestions of something they'd like to see, please let us know. I know there are other places you can get stats online, and kind of our goal is just to make it easier to present them in a way that you want to see them. So please reach out to me at RotoWireAndrew on Twitter. If you are a RotoWire subscriber, you can hit me up on our subscriber Discord as well. If you're not a subscriber, just go to rotowire.com/pod. That's POD. Get 10 free days to the site. It gives you access to the entire site for all the sports we cover, as well as that Discord chat. So check us out. Ethan, thank you for that, and good luck on Friday.
All right, same to you, man.